So we are now 2/3 of the way through Skirmish Season 11, and with Week 2 results in, hot off the press, it's clear to me that there was some definite bleed over from Week 1, which is making things look artificially a little flat. So in today's cast, let's go over the new numbers, kind of try and deconvolute the old numbers with the new numbers, and then ultimately, let's be honest, look at what that means for us going into Week 3. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my Flesh and Blood Blitz friends. Welcome back to our Week 2 recap headed into Week 3, the final week of Skirmish Season 11. Looking at everything going on with Blitz, we've got the numbers hot off the press, but I do want to, kind of do our traditional spreadsheet thing with the obvious understanding going in, like we've been talking about the last 2 weeks. If you've been following this, we know nobody's LLing this season, right? So we don't need to go into, the projections as much, but I do want to look at kind of the numbers and what it's telling us overall, because the Week 2 numbers, in my opinion, are a little convoluted because it looks to me like a lot of the Week 1 reports may have bled over into Week 2, and I'll back that up with data. But functionally, it probably doesn't really matter because, well, we'll get into it. So before we do get into it, though, I want to give a huge shout out to someone who I've met in person, super awesome person, Max Ferocity, took down a skirmish on Quick EP, and so many of those things are awesome statements to say in the same statement. So statement. Either way. You rock. Congratulations. And I hope to see you when I'm at Worlds. I hope to see you there and we can fist bump, and got to play you in Portland, and man, anyway, just congratulations. Let's just leave it at that. So going into kind of what I opened up with, what I want to start with, let's go back to the original projections that I had. Again, this was based on pulling what's in Gem, which is, not 100% accurate because some people list things as private and they don't, But the best I can do from a global standpoint is go and look at what's listed and what's available. Our projections were pretty damn close. However, what I noticed in Week 1, and I didn't say this in last week's video because I kind of suspected, because I've done this enough times, that this would be the case. But we expected there to be 143 events Week 1. With 572 points responsible. However, only 428 points were actually reported in the Week 1 update roughly a week ago. Week 2, we expected there to be 141 events, right? Roughly flat within the grand scheme of life, right? Between Week 1 and Week 2. However, with the Week 2 numbers, we saw 601 points reported, right? So Week 1 was way shy of where it was supposed to be. Week 2 was way high of where it was supposed to be. So the obvious conclusion from that is that people didn't click the submit button in Gem in the appropriate amount of time. And again, remember the way that I define the weeks, there is a bit of a trail there in terms of, the cutoff and obviously the roll-ups, like, Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever it may be. There's a couple days worth, but that's like pretty in the data. So, because again, if I go look at like the number of midweek events, it was pretty small overall. So we had a lot of numbers that were not reported on the first one. So does that matter? I guess is the better question. And I think when we go look at a comparison of Week 1 to Week 2, I think the answer is it doesn't really. In the past, though, it has, right? Because of the LL check and stuff like that. But again, remember, we're in a season, I already opened with that, where no one's going anywhere. So I think the overall conclusion, to kind of cut us to the main point very early, I would expect Week 3 to look very similar. Because no one's going anywhere. And, you know how TCG people are. They look at what's winning and they go buy those cards, right? Or they try to like outsmart the meta. But I think right now with the way that Blitz is in the main field, I think it's very hard to outsmart the meta because it becomes very tricky to cut through, right? But again, if you're in a show up in a room and everybody's on Terra, then Quick EP is looking pretty good. And actually, shout out to my team member video that I shot a little bit ago, talking about that exact thing. So final shot we'll do here on this screen is at Week 3. we actually have, we expected roughly 94 events, 300, let's say 400 points. And I would expect actually the points probably to be higher than that, because we probably have some, I mean, it's not like people week one, it's not like the week two people suddenly learn to submit better, right? So I would expect that we have some of that. And then it actually begs a very interesting question of what happens to the week three data when we roll it up Monday morning. It just gets updated later and no one talks about it. It's kind of interesting. So that also, by the way, historically, I'm not immune to that. Historically, that's the reason that we talk about that stuff a couple days late for the final roll up, is waiting for those things to update. Okay, so what I want to do now is look at a comparison between week one and week two. And to be fair, going into that, let's go ahead and throw up the week two data. Again, keeping in mind that the amplitude of the wins is extremely higher because of, like I proved, the carryover. We have 33 wins now with Aurora, 21 with Verdance, 10 with Blaze, and then you've got Kayo and Dromai at 9. I'm very disappointed in myself that I thought Zen was going to do really, really well this season. I still don't understand why he's not doing it. I have a bit of a theory on that, which we can talk about later. It has to do with the fact that Fab's super competitive. Like, that's basically the theory. I'm really surprised Zen's not doing better, but Aurora's obviously the pop-off. Verdance, I've been singing her tunes forever. Actually, 2 days ago, I put up a Verdance video. It didn't do super well. I think it's because I didn't do a good job on the thumbnail, if I'm being honest. But go check it out. I believe that to be a very, very, very strong list. But to my point about Dromai, I had her as a sleeper hero primarily because of what the meta looked like and the fact that your dragons, for the most part, barring Terra, who apparently doesn't seem to be doing very well, or other guardians. Bravo's been doing things too, but, board state's a thing. So I'm glad to see that that's in the case. And then Levia at 8, Dash Database actually doesn't surprise me because Max Velo for 10 is pretty good. Finally, we're seeing some ASC. I do have to say, I said it in the last week one video, I'm blown away that ASC is not doing better this season. It just blows me away. We have Florian at 6, Dorinthea at 6. That's Quickie P, of course. And then Zen at 5, Terra at 5. Advent of Thrones, which is very, very, very interesting that she's above Prism. But I suppose, again, you're splitting your field there. Man, if their powers could combine, they could probably get significantly better. But that field is split. We have Datadol, Prism, Acilio, and then other heroes at 5, which has been set. A Fang, which is actually super interesting. An Enigma, not a New Moon, a legit Enigma this time. A Lexi. And then again, another OG KO just putting another notch in his Dice Really belt, which is pretty impressive. So now what I wanted to do to kind of expand on what we were talking about earlier, let's compare week 1 and week 2. So you see a very similar overall picture, especially when you're looking at, let's say, the top, 6 there. Aurora's matched, Verdance is matched, Blaze and KO flipped, but functionally, they really didn't. They did flip, I get it. But if you add them together, overall, that's pretty matched. Dromai again in that 4th place, Levia in the 5th place slot, and then you have Datadol and Dash Database kind of doing their thing. But overall, if you look at this, again, accounting for very known bleed over from week 1 to week 2, it's basically a flat meta. So to that point of what I was talking about earlier, right, if you've got the cards, you've got the reps, you know what you should need to do in terms of, again, if you're trying to just go in and blind spike it, which probably I don't advise you do, because in Blitz, anything can happen, and it's probably better to know your hero. And by probably, it's almost certainly better to know your hero, hence like a Max Ferocity taking it down with Quickie P, which, again, shout out, nicely done, not a very favored hero, and you still did it. Stories like that all around the world right now, and that's why you see the number of different heroes winning as we do. However, I do have to acknowledge that, the amplitude, again, of the difference between week 1 and week 2 is very, very relevant, again, accounting for some bleed over, okay? So now let's go ahead and throw up the spreadsheet, which won't be up for very long because we've already come to the conclusion, right, that nobody's LLing. But it does show us that Aurora is just short of 19% currently of the wins overall this season. Verdance is, I shouldn't say right behind her, but pretty darn close on her heels at 14%. And then we go to Kayo, who's actually got a slight lead over Blaze, but they're both functionally at 8 to 8.5%. And then you just trickle down from there. And again, what you're seeing up here is everybody who's earned points -1. I left Dorinthea because Dorinthea, with the way I sorted the table, comes to the top. And this is OG Dorinthea because she's the highest LL point hero. So if we go look at week 3, right, from the purpose of projections, because that's why we're here, Aurora would have to win just shy of 60% next week to LL. Love y'all, but not going to happen, right? Love that hero, not going to happen. Verdance would have to take down 63%. Again, not going to happen, right? We'd expect them to stay basically, I mean, week 1 and week 2 were functionally in line with each other. We would expect those to carry for week 3, which I did do some back of the envelope math, right? But it's going to put Aurora at, roughly 400 and change or so. Verdance will probably be about 250, maybe 260, somewhere in that range, right? Again, variation and all that. And, it's week 3. A lot of people who've won have, pumped the brakes and they're going to go this way. That's the vast majority of the world. Well, maybe not in Fab, but a lot of people in the world, if they win one and they still want to play, they'll come back and they'll kind of pump their brakes and play like a favorite hero or something the next week because they already got their win. And then I'm sitting here saying that and realizing that we're in the Fab world. And that's probably globally actually not the case because you got to smash face all the time, right? Locals be damned. Maybe you'll concede to your team member, but so be it. So anyway, we go all the way down to, like I said, Fang at 4, Enigma at 4, New Moon at 4. There's a lot of 1-win heroes. I have to be honest, Emperor at 4 is not surprising and surprising at the same time. Obviously, he doesn't do well against Arcane heroes for obvious red pitch reasons. But he's still the Emperor, and he can still do things. And actually, shout out to Sean Maloney, right? Elusive won. He got some serious wins. Actually, top 8'd, right? I think that's true. Yeah, he top 8'd the Gongai Skirmish, which was this last weekend, which was won, by the way, by Florian, right? Pile of Rune Chance Florian. Took out Florian in the finals, and actually, I'll link that. You should go check out the live stream. Obviously I'm live streaming and judging and TOing and stuff all at the same time. So it's pretty much just a live stream, but it'll show you a lot of games and it was a really good time. And I do love my community, which is why I keep doing what I do. So with that said, kind of wrap us up and bring us home here. If you are going out to do nothing other than win, Aurora's, I don't know. I actually don't know. The data says that Aurora will show up in Spike Your Armory. I still think Verdance is the best hero in the meta right now. I still am blown away that ASC is not doing better. And other than that, I get it. Now, I kind of mentioned earlier, why is Zen not doing better? I still think Zen is an absolutely phenomenal hero in this meta. I believe the only reason that Zen is not doing better in this meta right now is because all the folks who, kind of to the point we were talking about before, who are here only just to smash face no matter what all the time, they bailed on Zen for Aurora because they looked at the meta report and said, oh, well, that's what I need to go play. So I think there's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy going on here because week 1 and out of the gate, I think we had something that's like Aurora was the best in CC. Everybody had their CC decks ready to go. They pulled out the cards and they showed up and rolled. Right? Very good hero who's capable, no question there. But a lot of people then are like, hey, I haven't been playing Zen, I've been playing Aurora because she's the new hotness, we'll do the thing. I still think Zen's good. And in fact, again, at the Gongai Skirmish this last weekend, we had and age is not a factor, right? But experience is a factor. And we had a very young individual, like middle school age individual at our tournament who showed up and was using another player's Zen deck and stumbled his way to like a 3-2, right? With very little reps, very little knowledge on the game, and just kind of tripped his way to a 3-2. I think that's pretty good considering the situation. My point is the deck's just fundamentally good, right? So it shouldn't be that hard for somebody with a lot of reps into the right field to come out 4-1, 5-0, whatever it may be. I'm just really surprised Zen's not doing better, if I'm being honest. When you have blues that are as good as value as they are, you can go tutor and pull the thing you want. I don't get it. I also don't get why ASC is not doing better. But there's a reason I'm on this side of the camera and I'm not holding up trophies in Sao Paulo, I suppose. So fair enough. Anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap it up today. I presented the numbers as they were. We can make our own conclusions. Let me know what you think below. If nothing else, my friends, go Commando.